chapter 2, we're going to be switching from talking about classifying plants and animals, and we're going to be jumping more to the cells, the tinier parts inside of those organisms, and how they work and how they work together. That's going to be the theme of this chapter, is just how everything is working together to help systems work. So you can be open to page 39 in your textbooks. It should look like this, lesson 1. You can also have out your note sheet that looks like this. You can have them right next to each other, and we're going to start reading in the first section. So right away, I'm going to read up here. Cells are the smallest living parts of any living thing. Cells have the same needs as any organism and carry out many of the same activities. Cells contain smaller parts, each with a specialized job. So even already we see that the cells are tiny, 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 and that they all have a really important job that they have to work together for. We're going to keep reading in what are cells. A cell is the smallest part of your body that carries out the activities of life. Cells are the basic building blocks that make up all living things. The tiniest organisms are only single cells. Multicellular organisms, on the other hand, have many cells, maybe trillions. Most cells are too tiny to be seen by the eye alone. A single drop of blood would hold millions of red blood cells, like the ones pictured here. You definitely need a microscope to see them. So when you see just a drop of blood, maybe on your finger, that is millions of cells inside that blood cell. And as I'm looking at my notes for today, I know that it's just writing the definition of vocabulary words and then this question below. So as we get to them, we will read through. I do see this question says, what are cells? Cells are the blank living parts of anything. So there's a couple things that you could put in there. So I could write in, cells are the smallest living thing. I also know that they're very important, so they're building blocks. So I might just write that below so I remember it. They're important. And I'm going to keep reading functions of cells. Cells in most living things have the same needs for survival as you do. Cells must take in food and get rid of waste. Cells use materials and food to grow and to repair wounds. While very few cells move around, all cells have parts that move inside them. Cells sense and respond to changes in their surroundings. They often communicate and cooperate with other cells. So again, we see that word cooperate, meaning that they're working together to help systems work. So they need food and water, and that's the same. So our bodies, they need food and water, and that's to help our cells be able to work. And it's the same way that they help repair wounds. We've got, when you get a cut on your hand, you're going to get blood there, and all of a sudden you'll get maybe a scar, and that's cells working together to make sure that you stay healthy and that you don't continue to bleed. All cells need energy. Most cells get energy through cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is the taking in of oxygen and food, such as sugar, in order to get energy. In this process, carbon dioxide and water are made. Different cells need different amounts of energy for all living things that they do to stay alive, including growing, moving, and dividing to make new cells. So I don't see any of my vocabulary words on here, but it's really important to know that right away the cells are the most important thing inside of your body, and they help every other part of your body to grow and to function. A cell is an amazing package made of a cell membrane, a nucleus, and many other structures. Most of the things your body does are really done inside cells. For example, you grow when your cells grow larger and divide. Your arm moves because small fibers are moving inside muscle cells. So as a small baby, you've got super, super tiny cells And then what happens is you grow, they're growing larger and then they divide and there just becomes more and more of them until as your body continues to grow. All cells have some of the same parts, and many parts have similar jobs. Cells have the same needs as your body has. For example, your body needs an outside covering of skin, a control system of nerves, a support system of bones, and places to store food and waste in the digestive system. Some cell parts can be compared to larger structures in your body. Okay, so this is my first vocabulary word, so I want to know what this is. The cell membrane surrounds a cell, holding the parts of the cell together. So the cell membrane kind of works as glue. It surrounds it and it holds it together so that it stays in place. So I'm just going to take it straight from the book. A cell membrane surrounds a cell. Holds parts together. And this doesn't need to be in a complete sentence. You can take it straight from the book. We're going to keep reading on. It allows needed materials such as sugar, water, and oxygen to enter the cell. It allows certain other materials such as carbon dioxide and other waste products to exit. So the cell membrane works to let things in, kick things out as they need to leave, and to hold everything inside together. The nucleus is the part of the cell that contains chromosomes. I'm going to write that down right away. Contains chromosomes. And we're going to read about what chromosomes are as we keep reading. Chromosomes are made up of materials including a chemical called DNA. And I'm going to put that underneath just so I know that nucleus holds the DNA. DNA is a chemical shaped like a twisted ladder. Chromosomes carry the instructions for the cell. By telling every cell how to do its job, chromosomes control how the body grows and changes. So the big job of the chromosome or the nucleus is to be the boss. It's telling what everybody else should be doing so that your body can function at its best. Every chromosome has small sections of DNA called genes. Genes are made of DNA. Each gene carries a single unit of information. Almost every cell in your body has the same set of thousands of genes. Heredity is the process of passing these genes from one generation to the next. So those genes that you get from your parents, so you might look like your parents, those are genes passed down from one of your parents to you. We're going to read underneath where it says plant cells to get some of our other vocabulary. Plant cells have all the parts seen in the animal cell. Plant cells also have a few parts not found in animal cells. So both a cell wall and chloroplasts are just in a plant cell. So I might put that on my notes and just say that this is plant so that I know that. A tough cell wall surrounds the cell membrane. The cell wall is stiff, unlike the thin cell membrane. Cell walls give plants extra support and protection. So I'm going to put down as far as the cell wall, it surrounds cell membrane. And then I'm also going to add that it just gives extra protection and support. And then reading about chloroplasts. Chloroplasts use energy and sunlight to turn water and carbon dioxide into oxygen and sugar. Plant cells use oxygen and sugar for respiration. Chloroplasts give plants their green color. So that's something I'm going to write down is give plants green color. And then they also help make sugar. And then we'll read from our last page, the size of cells. Like most things, cells have a limit as to how big or small they can be. They cannot be too small, or they will not have room for all their parts. They cannot be too big, or oxygen and other materials will not be able to reach the middle of the cell fast enough to keep the cell alive. Also, waste must be able to leave. So cells can't get too big. We know that they're super, super small, but they can't be any smaller because then they wouldn't have enough room for everything they need. But if they get too big, they wouldn't be able to stay alive. Mitochondria are the cell's power producers. Mitochondria combine oxygen and food to produce energy in the process of cellular respiration. So the big thing is I'm going to write down that mitochondria are the powerhouse. I'm also going to write down that they're the producers. That way I see that they're both powerhouse and producers, that they work together. Almost every cell nucleus in your body has 46 chromosomes. Each chromosome has hundreds of sections called genes, and those chromosomes are what you get from your parents. Vacuoles can sometimes act like a stomach. Ooh, that's a good thing that I'm going to write down right away. Stomach. It stores and breaks down materials. In plants, vacuoles may store water. So I'm going to write down stomach stores and breaks down materials. So the job of the vacuole is to help your body break things down. And then last is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is all the material of the cell between the cell membrane and the nucleus. So the material between the nucleus and cell membrane. So it's just kind of that extra stuff in between. And that job is important too. It kind of fills the space right there. So at this point, we've finished reading through. You should have all of these vocabulary words filled out. We're going to be continuing to talk about cells as we continue on in the chapter. This just gives you the starter of what cells do, the size of them, and then their different parts. As you work through the worksheet, as long as you've got this filled out, you can look back. Then this whole first section is all your vocabulary, and then it goes on to talk about a couple different things. Make sure that you look at there is no limit as to how big or small a cell can be. Don't get tricked out by that word big. We know that cells can't be too big. Then the last part is just comparing plant and animal cells. Make sure that you take a peek at page 40 to help you out with that.